Okay, hello and welcome to the webinar. My name is Chris Shelton, and today we are going to talk about 5 keys to stop treating and start curing chronic pain and disease. And we are so glad that you joined us for this live webinar, or if you're watching the recording after the fact, we're glad that you tuned in. This is our first of many weekly webinars and live meetings where we really want to give you tips and tools to help you be the best person that you can be. This class and this workshop is brought to you not just by myself, Parisa, but also by my husband, Chris Shelton. Together, we have a combined of 30 years in the health, healing, and fitness industries. We have used these techniques that we will share with you, not just on ourselves, but we've used them on our children, on our family, our clients, and friends. And we hope that you can walk away feeling better than you do right now. So just taking a personal inventory, noticing how you feel, noticing the thoughts that are floating through your mind. Just take a moment to arrive in your chair, taking a nice deep breath and exhale, just allowing for the thoughts of the morning to settle. So I'm not sure how you arrived at this webinar or at this video, but you may have saw in our post where we mentioned, we opened up that email and we said that if you're not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. We realize that this is a bold claim, but we are simply speaking from our experience. You see, for the past 20 years, Chris has studied with some of the world's most revered Qigong, Tai Chi, and Chinese medicine masters to bring you this integrative medicine approach that will bring you balance in all areas of your life, where you can have a healthy, happy, well-balanced body, you can have strong relationships, you can have the financial independence that you deserve and desire. So we are honored to have helped thousands of people, not just in Silicon Valley, but around the world, reclaim their health and live lives free of chronic pain and disease. So the first thing that we're going to do today is I'm going to share with you a quick video of how Chris got started, his story. It's a remarkable story. I really, I'm so proud of him. He's come so far, not just in healing himself, but also paying it forward and helping so many people around the world. It's truly an honor, and I feel privileged to work side by side. So without further ado, here is the video.
Skill in which to harness this life force energy, in this case, in order to improve your overall physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. I did a lot of crystal meth in the day, and by the time I was 17, I had my first heart attack from a meth overdose, and to put myself into Taekwondo as a means to change my path, because I realized I was going to end up dead or in prison or both. I started competing right away with Taekwondo. Did my first competition, I got the yellow belt, And anyways, the night before a match, I was kicked in the back, which then dropped me to the ground. And doctor said, Chris, you might be, if you're not careful, you might not ever walk again. My mom was a nurse, and she worked for this amazing chiropractor who father, grandfather, brother, sister were all chiropractors. but also she had studied Chinese medicine and homeopathy, and she had a massage therapist working for her at the time, and he wheeled me in there. And he was a martial artist, and he started talking to me about Qi. Well, now I'm 18 years old, and I'm like, yeah, right. So anyways, I had other health problems too. I had severe sinus problems, digestive problems. I had a slight case of OCD, and I had nothing to lose. I started taking these classes, and back then, this was over 25 years ago, nobody was practicing Qigong, or very few people were practicing Qigong in the United States. And I kid you not, after about 6 months of doing these practices every single day, you know, you just wake up one day and you're like, wow, when did I stop living on the Sudafed and the Actifed, and then I started living on the Tums and Kaopectate? You know, you don't know when it changed. Like there's not a pinpoint date, but you know that there was a change. And I thought, wow, the movement, gentle movement, and guided meditation can create this much change inside my body, but there must be something to Chinese medicine. So indirectly, because of the Qigong, that instructor I was training with supposedly was teaching Chen-style Tai Chi, and Chen-style Tai Chi is a martial art. It's the oldest system of Tai Chi. A lot of people, when they hear Tai Chi, they just think it's like old people doing the part. And so what happened was after I broke away from him, and then I found my Sifu, who I'm still with today, Tony Wong, who really teaches the traditional Chen Tai Chi. I mean, we're directly connected to Chen Village in China, in Hunan province, and I started competing with Tai Chi in tournaments. I've been in Inside Kung Fu magazine a couple times, competed at the national level as a in the U.S. at one point. So I dabbled with that too. And then finally the sound show, with the company's fight team, so introduced to sound show. Thousands of years ago, before man started to evolve and lose their spiritual centers and pay more attention to the ego, they were enlightened enough to understand how these internal organs function. They were enlightened enough to understand that there are channels in the body, and there are actually points in the body, and that these vessels and channels and these organs correlate to the seasons, and correlate to different foods that you eat, correlate to different colors. And so that is the foundation of Chinese medicine, recognizing when the organism itself and its internal environment is not much different than the external environment. So just like there can be a discord in your external environment, weather-wise or in your personal life, that's also can happen on the inside. So when someone says to me, even if it's a disease that I've never heard of before, and they say, can you help me with it? My answer is yes, because I believe that anything is possible.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Chris Shelton, and that video there is very touching to me because what it shows is just a brief story or history of how I got to where I am today. With over 26 years of experience now, I can truly say that I'm blessed. I have such a blessed life to do what I do in helping transform the lives of others. You know, because of what I went through, this is what has made me so passionate about what it is that I do. And I like being able to share it with people. And with healthcare and fitness professionals or anybody in the healing profession, I think that Qigong is the new yoga. This is the wave of the future because it's such a simple practice with profound results. And when we look at the practice of Qigong itself, you know, it's a 5,000-year-old practice, and yes, it originated in China, but you don't have to be Chinese to practice it. And the cool thing about it is you don't need any special clothing. You don't need a mat. You could do it anywhere. And even if you are suffering from disease and you're interested in learning more about Qigong, you know, this is one of those practices that you can do even if you are sick, because it doesn't take much energy. You know, you can do the practice from a laying down or a seated position. You don't always have to stand. But what's really exciting is that there's a wave happening, and I don't know if you feel it. If you're on this webinar, you're probably on that wave already. And the wave is what they're calling is integrated medicine. You know, combining science with Eastern wisdom. And a lot of my clients say to me, Chris, are you just all about Chinese medicine and the Chinese arts? And my answer is no. When I look at the human organism, when I see a client come into my practice, we're looking at it from an Eastern and a Western point of view. And I think that applying both is essentially important. But the great thing about Qigong is that it empowers people to be able to take care of their overall well-being. And if they have disease, be able to change the process of disease, but also, more importantly, being able to prevent disease. But there are 5 keys to curing disease and chronic pain, and these are considered what is known as the 5 healths. And a lot of us, if we were to look at these 5 keys to health, most of us aren't balanced in all 5. Maybe we possess 1 or 2 or 3, but not all 5. And those 5 healths is the physical health, the mental, emotional, or mind health, as well as your financial health and your relationship health. And then, your career health is your spiritual health. And we're going to take a closer look at these different components and see how, what those look like and what we can do in order to improve upon them. So not only has this practice worked for myself and my wife, Parisa, but it's worked for thousands and thousands of our other clients. We, besides teaching these classes and spreading this knowledge to the world, seeing clients in clinic as well, we get the privilege and the opportunity to work with people, and there's nothing more exciting than being able to be a part or be a witness of somebody's transformation and change. And the awe and the excitement that somebody feels that when the first time that they're out of pain, maybe they've been in pain for 5 or 10 years, and all of a sudden, boom, they're out of pain. And just that look on their face, just, the expression, the overall joy, and the overall like, is this magic? At first it was kind of like a disbelief that something like this could happen or change. But we've seen it over and over again. And, we have clients that have taken this Qigong or teacher training course and have transformed their lives. And when we look at physical health, it's not only just the physicality of it, but it's the emotional part behind it. And for example, we have one client, Michael, that came in from Chicago with a shoulder injury. And when I was talking to Michael about this and he started doing the program, I said, Michael, the shoulder injury, there has to be something emotional, because he couldn't figure out what had caused the pain. All he knew was that he'd been suffering for 3 years. Now it's actually showing up as arthritis on the x-rays, and doctors are wanting to cut into him to work on his cervical spine. But luckily he came in, started doing the course, and Michael was able to transform that. And come to find out, through the process of peeling away the layers, what it came down to is right before he started developing this pain, about a week before, actually his horse had died. And because of that, he suppressed that emotion, like all of us do. We feel it or whatever, but we say, I have to suck it up and I just have to move on to the next thing. And I can't let this thing pull me down, which is true, right? We can't stay in the past. It's good for us to move forward. But when we suppress the emotion, then that's what creates disease. So in Mike's case, what happened was that he suppressed the emotion of his horse passing, affected his heart, affected the channels in the neck, hence obstructing the channels eventually became a tangible disease that not only could he feel day in and day out, but also they could see on the x-rays. And from doing this Qigong teacher training course, he was able to transform that and now is living pain-free. So what we're going to cover here today is we're going to look at the 5 healths. We're going to look at your physical health, which is, traditional movement and exercise. And, my good friend, Eric, the trainer in Hollywood, him and I have a great synergy because he's really great at helping people transform their bodies from the outside. And I'm really good at helping people transform from the inside. So when people look at physical health, my attitude is that you have to be moving, and non-movement creates disease. It's like a stagnant body of water. So you have to be moving, you have to be out there and be active in order to help this vitality to continue to thrive inside your body. But also too, then we have to look at our mental emotional state. How many of us, or how many people do we know are physically fit, but yet are suffering from depression or anxiety disorders or depersonalization disorders? There's all kinds of things going on, and physical exercise is one great tool to help to transform depression and anxiety and other conditions that affect the mind. But But also we also see a lot of times in clinic where somebody's physically fit, but that yet unfortunately they're still suffering. So what we're going to look at today also is our mind health. Then the third thing we're going to look at is our relationship health. I mean, what does that mean? What does that look like for you? Are you somebody that has a successful relationship with a significant other or with people around them? How's your relationship with your family? So we're going to take a look at that as well. 4 is your financial health. Are you living paycheck to paycheck? Are you overextending on your spending? You know, this also affects us because if we don't have that comfort zone, then this also creates stress in our life, which also can create and contribute to more disease. And then the 5th one, I think this one is really important, which is your career health. What is your life purpose? And some people would actually say that this is actually pertains to your spiritual health. So we're going to look at what is it that you need to do in order to find your life purpose. You'll be surprised how many people out there are not doing what they like to do, and every single day wake up dreading going into work or dreading to have to do a task at hand and not feeling fulfilled every day. And one of the things that I can say about doing this for so many years now, being in clinical practice and teaching for almost 19 years now, is that I don't wake up in the morning dreading going into the office. I do not wake up in the morning dreading going to the to teach classes. I look at it with a sense of awe and excitement because I get to do something that I love to do, and it's so fulfilling, and I get to help people transform their lives. So when we look at our physical health, what we want to do is we want to think about, it's not only about working out. Yes, we could weight train, we could run, we could jog, we could get on the elliptical, but sometimes there's some exercises that are I consider mindless exercises. Like, how many times have you been to the gym and you see somebody on the elliptical or on the treadmill, and at the same time they're watching the big TV that's up on the screen or up on the wall, and or they are reading a magazine at the same time that they are on the elliptical or the treadmill. That's called mindless activity. And the great thing about Qigong and Tai Chi, because Qigong is actually the foundation of Tai Chi, and it's actually the foundation of Chinese medicine. And the great thing about Qigong is that it gives you gentle physical movements that help to regulate the body's internal organ system, as well as the vessels and the channels. Also helps to regulate the function of the organs and to improve their communication together. And, you know, it's such a simple practice with profound results. And being the foundation of Tai Chi, you know, what's funny is when I talked to my friends when I was first starting off my clinical practice and teaching, a lot of my friends were saying, "Oh, you're out there teaching Tai Chi. Isn't that what old people do in the park?" And what I would tell them is, no, you don't understand. Tai Chi is actually a great form of exercise. And the great thing about these exercises is that you have to be in the present moment. That's one of the things I like about sparring too, is that sparring with Sanshou or Muay Thai is that you have to be in the present moment. Otherwise, you're going to be clobbered. So Tai Chi and Qigong is a more gentler way to be in the present moment, and you get to increase that state of presence, and at the same time learning a practice that then helps to improve your well-being. And you know, and one of our other clients that actually signed up for the Qigong Teacher Training program, she had what looks like is RA or Lyme disease, and you know, when we first met her, you know, she was in a bad place, and after starting to apply these practices to her life, guess what? Slowly she has transformed her overall physical health. Whereas before she was maybe stuck in bed, now she is able to go out and do things and enjoy her life pain-free. And so this is where the physicalness of the practice comes in. You have to be out there doing something physical. It doesn't necessarily have to be weight training or heavy duty weight training, but something, going for a brisk walk, being out in nature. But your physical health is really important, because this physical body is what carries us throughout this journey of life until we return back to our source. So you may be thinking, I don't understand how a simple exercise like Qigong can improve my physical health. Well, if you were to look at the acupuncture meridians in the body, these acupuncture meridians are considered like rivers, and these rivers actually feed into the internal organs, which are considered lakes. And these lakes then feed into what is known as the 3 C's of energy: the upper dantian, middle dantian, and the lower dantian. So all 3 of these components actually help with your overall physical well-being. And there's an ancient classical Chinese medicine book called the Su Wen, the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Difficulties. And there's a passage in the Su Wen that says, to prevent disease or to fight disease after disease has set in is like one digging a well after one has become thirsty, or one forging one's weapon after one has already engaged in battle. Wouldn't that be too late? So the idea of doing some of these gentle movements and exercises, what it does is it actually helps to stimulate the movement of blood and energy in the body, which then helps to stimulate these acupuncture vessels, which then helps to stimulate the internal organs, and your overall physical being actually improves. But what's so different about Qigong and Tai Chi is that it's such a subtlety that you don't really see the transformations like right away. And that's especially here in the West, we want to see things right here and now. We want it yesterday. We don't want to have to wait for this transformation to happen. But I can promise you from my own experience, if you were to take these practices and that you're going to learn in this Qigong Teacher Training course, that if you were to take these practices and then just apply 15 to 20 minutes every day, you would start to notice maybe 2-3 months down the road that things are changing, that your overall physical well-being has improved. And so you don't have to necessarily be doing a lot of exertion to accomplish the task of being physically fit. By doing these gentle movements, and the way that the movements are structured is meant to be a whole body unification and a whole body experience of wellness. So the great thing about your physical health is that your body is designed to be healthy. You know, the DNA in your body wants to be healthy, and the key is unlocking the secrets to that DNA so it can do what it wants to do, and that is to have healthy cells, to have a healthy organism. You know, there's so many times I hear people say, well, there's heart disease that runs in my family, or high blood pressure runs in my family, or diabetes runs in my family. And, you know, it's been proven, and now science is finally starting to agree that, you know what, if you change your environment, if you change how you emotionally respond to situations and stimuli, if you change your diet, you do not have to have those diseases, because the helix, the DNA strand itself, wants to be healthy. And science is proving that there's only small components of that helix that actually will carry that marker for disease. The rest of the helix itself actually wants to be healthy. So if you change those kinds of things, if you're more mindful about what you're doing and how you're eating, how you're sleeping, how you're being physically fit, and how you're living out your day and your thought processes and your finances and your relationships, you know what, the DNA changes, and actually the person or the organism actually becomes much healthier and more vibrant. And what's great is that you actually get to see, as you continue to do this process, you actually get to see and be witness along the journey of watching certain health problems. Like, let's say if you're somebody that has insomnia or is waking up between the hours of 1 and 3 a.m. in the morning, that's not by accident. There's something inside the body that's gone wrong, and the body wants to fix itself. It's almost like night sweats. If you're somebody that has night sweats, there's a mechanism inside the body that has gone wrong, and the body wants help. And the reason for the night sweats is because there's actually a problem probably with the kidneys being depleted. But anyways, so the body's sweating because it feels too hot. But the problem is that it gets stuck, because when it sweats, then it creates more of this problem of being hot, believe it or not. And so by doing these simple practices, then what happens is you could actually help to transform that, unblock the blockages that create the night sweats, unblock the blockages that create the insomnia, the depression or whatnot. And so your physical health is something that, once again, we need to have in order to be able to have a full and complete life. So the next one is our mind and our mental emotional health. And you'll be surprised at how many people I see in clinic, for example, that, let's say I'm going to go back to the personal trainer again. There's been many times where I see a personal trainer come in who's physically fit, but yet is still suffering from disease. And this one case study, I'm just going to call her Jeanette. She had come in, and Jeanette originally had a lower back problem, and what happened was that on her first consultation, one of the assessment tools that I have is face reading. So I was able to read her face, and I said, you know, you have to deal with that resentment that you have towards men. And she goes, oh, I dealt with that years ago. I said, okay, whatever. So I continued to type it. I put it in her notes, what I've seen. And then we fixed the back problem. And then over time, what happened was that she would come in still if she had a cold or a flu or some other tweak in the shoulder or whatever. And one day she came in, and something she said, something I saw on her tongue and something I saw on her face, I said, you know, I need you to make an appointment with your primary physician. I want your carotid arteries tested. She goes, look at me. She goes, you're crazy. She goes, I'm physically fit. I have almost 0% body fat. I work out about 2 hours every day. I eat healthy, and there's nothing should be wrong with me. I said, well, I'm picking up on this, and I'm suggesting you see your doctor to rule it out. Well, guess what? 2 weeks later, she returned back into my office, and she was in tears. And she said to me, she goes, I want to thank you, Chris, for saving my life. She said, both my carotid arteries are 70% blocked. So if she's eating healthy and she's physically fit and she's exercising, what was the one component that she was missing? And in this case here, is the component of this old long-term resentment that actually was affecting her body, affecting her internal organs, and pretending like it didn't exist. But thank God for her, her physician and myself. We worked together. He was more open to alternative medicine. He didn't put her on any medication. We changed her diet according to Chinese nutrition. And we gave her these specific Qigong practices that you're going to learn in this Qigong Teacher Training program. And guess what? In about 6 months, she was about 50% better, and then in a year, it was completely gone. So when we look at our mental emotional health, you know, science for many years thought that our mind, the frontal cortex of the brain is where the mind was located. You know, science, nobody could actually locate where the mind is located. The brain is the physical organ that helps us with things like that we take for granted, like the signals that run through our nervous system, like resting and digesting, our sex drive, and those kinds of things, just being able to breathe. But you can't actually physically pinpoint where the mind is located. But there is a group of scientists actually in the Santa Cruz area called HeartMath, and they are now proving that the consciousness is actually here. And you know that when you have emotions, if you think about it, if you're angry at something, what happens? Your heart races. If you're fearful of something, your heart races. You know, this HeartMath, on their website, they have all this documentation and videos demonstrating, you know, that when you give somebody a sincere hug, actually both hearts for both people actually move a little bit closer together. And so when we look at our mental emotional health, what kind of tools can you have? And unfortunately in this country, there has not been enough emphasis on mental emotional wellness and the tools needed to release stress, to prevent burnout. If you have PTSD, just yesterday, God bless the people in Southern California, the 13 people that were shot and the police officer that passed from a gentleman who had PTSD. He was a military guy, and unfortunately, he didn't have the tools, because this country, we don't, in most places around the world, do not have what it takes in order to address PTSD, mental emotional health, because it's of utmost importance to have this. And so Qigong is a proven system that gives you tools in order to be able to deal with day-to-day stress and trauma, but more importantly, to be able to process and to effectively release past negative emotions, stress, and trauma. So I thought I'd just take a moment here and run us through a really quick, what I call center and balance meditation. We have this meditation on our website, as well as it's on iTunes. It's such a simple meditation, but the purpose of it, there's two purposes here. Number one is to get you out of your head and back into your body. But number two is to help you be much more aware of your body. And if you do this meditation every single day, It's about a 20-minute meditation. We're not going to spend 20 minutes here. I'm just going to run through it really quickly just to give you a taste. But if you were to do this meditation that I have on iTunes or on our website, you know what? Eventually, you'd be able to feel inside your body. It's not a tangible feeling like grabbing a hold of something. It's more of a knowing. So from here, what I like us to do is I like to find a comfortable position. Go ahead and sit at the end of the chair. If you want to stand in what we call the Wu-Ji posture, if you're familiar with Qigong or Tai Chi, you could go ahead and do that. But just gently have the hands resting on the thighs. And what we're going to do is we're going to gently place the tip of the tongue to the roof of the mouth behind the teeth, as if saying the letter N. And then from there, we're going to gently close the eyes, and we're going to allow the breath to become long, steady, even, and deep. Focusing first on the front of the body, we're going to imagine warm oil that begins to melt down from the top of the head, melting down inch by inch, cell by cell, tissue by tissue. You feel as this warm oil melts down through the forehead, the temples, the brow bone, eyebrows, and eyes. The nose, the cheeks, the lips, the chin, and jaw structure. Flowing and pouring down through the front of the neck and throat, the shoulders, upper chest, the biceps, the elbow creases, the forearms, the wrists, the palms of the hands, leading all the way out to the fingertips. And from there, feel the entire chest as this warm oil wraps around the chest to the flanks of the body, to the rib cage, through the abdomen, through the waist, through the groin, through the thighs, melting down through the knees, the shins, ankles, feet, and toes. Allow for this warm oil to flow down deep into the ground. And just take a moment there and feel your entire body from head to toe. Feel the left and right sides of the body. Now feel what's going on behind you. Allow for this warm oil to melt down from the crown point of the top of the head, enveloping the scalp, touching every hair follicle, every cell, every tissue as it melts down behind the ears, the base of the skull, to the neck, flowing and relaxing the shoulders, the triceps, the elbows, the back of the forearms, the back of the wrists, hands, all the way out to the fingertips. And from the base of the neck, enveloping the entire back, relaxing the shoulders, upper back, mid-back, flowing through the low back and waist, melting down through the buttocks and hamstrings, the back of the knees, the calves, the ankles, the heels, all connecting, all flowing off deep into the ground. And just take a moment there and just feel the back of your body from head to toe. Feel now the left and right sides of the body. And from there, now melting down through the center of your being, connecting with your higher self, or imagine a white light that now illuminates your senses of what's going on inside of you. So you feel the brain and surrounding tissues, the skull, the sinuses. This white light penetrates to the nerves behind the eyes. You visualize and feel the inner ear, the upper and lower palate of the mouth, the teeth, the gums, the tongue. Now melting down from the base of the skull down through each of the vertebrae of the neck and throat, vertebra by vertebra, cell by cell. Feel what's inside of you. Feel the arteries of the neck, the air passageway, the muscles branching off into the shoulders. Feel the bones and muscles of the upper chest, upper back, shoulders, through the biceps, triceps. Feel the fascia, the connective tissue, the center of the elbows, the center of the forearms, the wrists, all the small bones and ligaments of the hands and fingers. And now this white light touches every rib, feels the ribs wrap around to the spine on the back. You feel the heart and its pulsating rhythm, the lungs, the liver and gallbladder on the right side of the body, the stomach and spleen on the left. The intestines, the kidneys, the bladder, the pelvic bone, the bones of the legs, the muscles surrounding them, the center of the knees, the center of the shins, calves, ankles, and all the small bones and ligaments of the feet and toes that allow for this white light now to flow down deep into the ground. And just take a moment and just feel your entire body. And then we're going to finish by pulling down the heavens 3 times, inhaling. Again, connecting with your higher self. Just imagine this white light coming down through the body. Inhale. Feel the white light come in. Feeling rejuvenated, relaxed. Going back to the present. Okay. How does everybody feel? Well, hopefully you feel as good as I do. So, you know, some people would say, you know, well, okay, Chris, how can a simple meditation or mind intent practice help me and relieve me from, let's say, depression? And, you know, we have a saying that the imagination leads the mind and the mind leads a smooth flow of the chi. You know, and the reality is that if you studied anything like quantum physics, have you ever seen the movie What the Bleep Do We Know About This World? There's another movie called The Secret. I almost drew a blank there. That they talk about this quantum physics about what you think about, you actually bring about, and you actually can create your own reality or co-create your own reality with God. So, you know, your mind's a very powerful thing. And if you think about it, if you've ever had a situation to where you haven't seen somebody in quite a while, and then all of a sudden you think of that person, and later on that day they give you a call, you think, wow, was that by accident? No. What happened was that you just projected the thought out there. There's no control around the thought, and then what happened was that vibration then triggered that person to call. But you'd be amazed when you look at depression, for example, because depression actually affects so many more people than what we realize. And conditions like alcoholism, drug addiction, a lot of times at some level, there is a level of depression there. And the reason why people drink or use is to try to escape. And the great thing about Qigong and these meditative practices is that every single practice that you learn is meant to do something medicinally inside your body. And one of the common things I hear is, Chris, I can't meditate. Well, I tell them, well, it starts off with a conscious breath. Because if you were to inhale deeply into your lower abdomen, and then exhale, during that inhalation and exhalation, it's impossible for your mind to think of anything else. And once you start off with 1 conscious breath, it then goes to 2 conscious breaths, and then it increases from there. And what's quite amazing is that the difference between this, like a mindfulness meditation, and these type of practices is because they're all meant to do something to affect the different internal organs of the body, which what we're going to get into here in a little bit, actually attack the different organs and then create disease. Okay, so this is what we're looking at here. So the truth is that your mind is much more powerful than what you really think it is, and just by utilizing your mind intent, you'd be surprised at how much you can do. And these meditations are so simple to do, and the nice thing I like about it, once again, just to reiterate, is that it's something that you could do anywhere. You do while you're driving in the car. For, let's say, we have healing sounds in the program to work with the 5 internal organs of the body, and those healing sounds are all meant to help to release negative emotions. So you can do that practice driving, washing dishes. Obviously, you're not going to close your eyes while you're driving, but you know, you still connect with your internal organs and do the practice. Now, our third health, which is our relationship health, and you know, the relationship health is something is really important, and really a lot of our relationships are formed from our upbringing and the kind of relationships our parents had with other people, what kind of relationships they had with us, kind of molds just how we interact with other people, our perceptions about ourselves. And when our relationship health is not healthy, obviously it creates an imbalance in the body, which can also trigger disease as well. So when we're looking at cultivating these relationships in our lives, we have to look at, you know, what are the boundaries? You know, I was talking to a client yesterday, and this client yesterday was telling me, you know, Chris, you know, since I've been working with you, doing these classes and stuff, you know, as a kid, it should be installed in our school system that there's classes on proper boundaries and respect and those kinds of things. Boundaries with for ourselves, boundaries that we have with other people, you know, and the importance of that, because if you have proper boundaries, then you have proper health. And it's one of the key components to maintaining health. And if you're somebody that says, no, I'm just going to isolate myself and stay away from people, that's not healthy either. I think that we are creatures of connection, creatures of community. And yes, every once in a while, it's great to go off into the mountains and cultivate yourself, go on a silent retreat for 30 days or whatnot. Yes, I think that stuff is fantastic. But really, you know, the Taoists actually say that it's better to be amongst society, to be a part of society, because it's much more virtuous to give back to society and to learn how to have proper balance with the relationships with people in your life, and to be able to give back to people. So I was fortunate enough for myself, after doing these practices, you know, I had 2 failed marriages and a lot of dysfunctional relationships in between that. And when I look back after the second failed marriage, you know, I had to really look at myself, because at first I was saying, God, I'm drawing a lot of crazy people into my life. But I really had to look at myself and say, no, Chris, there's something crazy about you. What is wrong with you? And so what I did was, at the time, is I just really honed in on doing these Qigong practices, and to get to the root of the dysfunction. And the root of the dysfunction was based upon my upbringing, in particular the way that my mother had relationships with other people and with me and my siblings. And so once I realized that, and then I was able to do these practices, guess what? I was able to transform it, and then transfer my own energy, increase the vibration of my own energy to actually pull into my life partner. And what's great about my life partner, Parisa, is that, you know, she's my, I guess I was going to say my sidekick, but she's my partner in crime, because, you know, we have the same mission and purpose, which is to help to transform the lives of others. And so I'm very fortunate to be able to work side by side with her. Yes, both of us have 2 different job titles or 2 different job duties, which is essential to keep from there being conflict. And I'm not saying that there's never any disagreements, but, you know, but for the most part, you know, we have a really fantastic relationship. And like I said, I get the privilege of being able to work side by side with her. And even if we're working a 12, 13-hour day at the clinic, or at our center teaching and seeing clients, at the end of the day, or putting together material like this webinar, at the end of the day, we know what the end purpose is. We know what the end cause is. And to be able to share that with somebody, I mean, that's just a gift in itself, because there's so many people that don't know what their spouse does. They don't even talk about what they do. And even if they do talk about it, they can't really relate to what the person is going through. And so when we start to look at diseases that arise, you know, we look at the 5 major internal organs of the body. And so contrary to what science thought for many years, which was the frontal cortex was responsible for our consciousness, you know, actually your heart is the center of the consciousness. And so these 5 major organs, the heart, the spleen, the lungs, the kidneys, and the liver, are all mainly responsible for sustaining our life. Now, they are paired with other organs, and those organs are important too. But for example, you can live without part of your intestine. You can live without part of your stomach. But these negative emotions, and let me just state this, it's not that emotions are bad, it's when they're not expressed appropriately, or even worse, when they're suppressed, that it creates disease. So heart disease, the negative emotions surrounding that is abandonment, lack of joy, overexcitation, mania. And according to the World Health Organization, 7.4 million people die annually around the world. And actually, I believe that number has actually increased since we put together the slide. Diabetes and cancer, here's another one, a demand for nurturing or over-nurturing, anxiety, worry, overthinking things too much, over-intellectualizing things too much. You know, I'm seeing younger and younger people show up with these rare forms of cancer, and true environment and the food that we eat is definitely a contributor to this disease, but also this emotion where of too much anxiety, too much worry, where it actually weakens the function of the stomach and the spleen and the pancreas, and actually forms the phlegm, which then becomes the cancer. And 1.5 million people. What's interesting is with modern science today, yes, our life expectancy is increasing, but also at the same time too, some of these diseases are not getting better; they're actually getting worse. And diabetes, and especially diabetes in children, is on the rise. It's not going down. Lung diseases, the negative emotions that attack the lungs is the emotions of sadness, grief, sorrow, disappointment, loss, and 3.1 million people. How many people, or do you know, or maybe yourself has lost a loved one, or maybe a pet has ran away, or you had to put an animal to sleep, and then because of the grief, all of a sudden you develop an unproductive dry cough. And this unproductive dry cough is actually the grief that's actually stuck in the lungs. It's trapped. And we'll see people end up with throat cancer after they, let's say, have been responsible for taking care of their parent for the last 5 or 10 years and all of a sudden died or passed on. And it starts off, they get the grief, right? They get that stuck feeling stuck in their throat. And when if that stuck feeling is not released, and some people actually will turn into throat cancer, and that's not by accident. Okay, so when we talk about curing diseases and preventing diseases, it's really looking at how these emotions that affect our mental emotional state actually affect the internal organs of the body and contribute to disease. Now here's another one, nephritis, which is kidney disease. Just right around the corner from us, they just put in another dialysis office. There's more and more dialysis offices popping up. The negative emotions of fear, fright, shock is the emotional component that affects the kidneys. It contributes to these kidney diseases. And this is another disease that's on the rise. And besides the fear, it's also overworking. And here in Silicon Valley, too many of my clients, yeah, they have the 6-figure salary, but there's too many of them that are burnt out. They're 22 years old and already their hands are shaking, or they're 25 years old and their body's already shaking because their nervous system is so fried. Their adrenal system is taxed, their kidneys are getting taxed, and this also will contribute to the nephritis and the kidney disease, and also contribute to a premature death. Stroke, which affects your liver and your gallbladder, or is an expression from the liver and the gallbladder being out of balance. The negative emotions that affect the liver and the gallbladder is anger, frustration, and resentment, and old anger. And 6.7 million people. I'm again seeing younger and younger people dying of strokes or aneurysms, and this shouldn't be the case. So we have to. So we have to really look at how these emotions affect us and how it affects our relationships and our interactions with other people. So whether or not you want to be single, or you're somebody that says, I'm single because all the good men are taken or all the good women are taken, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It actually starts with you. And actually transforming the lives of others starts with us too. And the way that our Qigong Teacher Training program is set up is for you to cultivate. Some people would say working on yourself. I think that word has a negative connotation attached to it. I think it's more about cultivating this life essence in order to have a balanced life. And again, the importance of having healthy relationships with people is of utmost importance, because this is what, when we have those healthy relationships, then we have peace in our lives, we have peace internally, and then that's just manifested and then just glow and radiates out from us. So when we look at the external environment of what's going on with you, it's also a reflection of what's going on the inside. And so many times that people will say, well, I have this issue that's going on outside, my world seems to be falling apart. But again, going back to the mind intent and what you think about, you bring about, it's really important to recognize that when you are going through shifts and changes in your external environment, to really take a look inward and to honestly look at yourself and see, what is it that I'm holding on to emotionally that or I'm thinking about? Am I holding on to resentments or dread? Am I holding on to fear? Am I holding on to grief? If you hold on to that stuff, how is that now manifesting in my life? Am I drawing in more people that are angry? Am I drawing in more people that are depressed? So what is it? So when we look at these relationships health, it's also looking, it's more, instead of looking outside of ourselves, it starts from looking inside. So the fourth key here is our financial health. So money is a form of energy. And I hear some people say money's not real, and I can see why they say that. But you know, at this point in time, we still need it in order to survive. And you know, if you didn't have this, if you don't have financial health, if you're somebody that is struggling and is looking to not be living paycheck to paycheck, looking at what kind of tools that we can utilize in order to balance this out. You know, one of the great things about being a Qigong teacher is that I'm able to, number one, help transform and change the lives of others and get to pay witness to that. But also I get to make a really good living at what it is I do. And I get to take care of myself at the same time. And I get to have a lot of fun at what I do. So how many careers out there can you actually say that that actually fulfill all those components? So Christine Castillo, she was one of our Qigong teachers who finished graduated both level 1 and level 2. And she has a full-time job, but guess what? She's now teaching for us as well too. We actually pay our instructors much higher than most places do because we believe in taking care of our instructors. But she's a fine example of taking it now to that next level. And what we're going to do is we're going to help to support her in this process as she goes out there and teaches more, gets more confident in teaching and helping other people, and then helping herself at the same time. You know, her goal is to make this into her full-time job. And sometimes, you know, sometimes the reality is that you can't necessarily just jump right in. Or let's say you already are a practitioner, and whether you're a medical doctor, homeopathist, massage therapist, a personal trainer, and you already have clients, and you're saying, okay, what else can I add to my repertoire of tools to give to these people and that I'm serving? And these Qigong practices are it. And so really looking at this financial health, you know, for myself, for example, I grew up pretty poor, and I started working at age 11 also. So the video you saw earlier only showed a small little piece of the history of how I got to where I am today. But, you know, I was a butcher for 21 years and as a meat manager for most of that time. And when I first started the Morning Crane Healing Arts Center in San Jose, actually in Willow Glen, a small little suburb near downtown San Jose, you know, I still had to work full time as I slowly started to build. But guess what? As my clinical practice was growing and my teaching practice was growing, guess what? I was able to cut back the amount of hours that I was working until finally I was able to retire from that industry with a pension, believe it or not, and now do what I love to do. So financial health is really important, because if you're struggling for money, that creates stress on the body. And I believe there's actually a study that shows that one of the #1 causes of relationships falling apart is poor financial health. So really taking a look at that, on how that financial health is, and then what can we do in order to bring you into balance for your financial health. Okay, so the truth of the matter is, you know, I used to think that and I think this comes from my upbringing, that you had to work hard for your money, and or money is a bad thing, and I disagree. My attitude now is not working harder; it's about working smarter, and pre-planning and setting up systems to that way I don't have to work so hard, so that way I don't have to be so stressed out. And the idea that money is bad is no. Master Ni, whose book we actually use for the level 2 portion of the Qigong Teacher Training program, he had said in one of his books that money's not bad. It's okay for you to have this abundancy. But if you have the thought that, oh, money is bad, then guess what? You always will be chasing after that paycheck. You always will be chasing after that next place to make some money. So if you change the thought process of the money's bad, that it's actually something energetically that we need to have, and it's okay to have lots of it to have an abundant life. Because abundancy, what we're talking about here, these 5 healths, is abundancy in all of these 5 areas. Abundancy in our relationship health, abundancy in our financial health, abundancy in our mental emotional health, abundancy in our career health, abundancy in our physical health. So we're looking, it's great to have abundancy. And what's really wonderful is that God, our creator, whatever, the white light, the universe, whatever you want to call it, it always wants to create. It is here to help you create. And yes, there are certain truths, right? Like gravity, for example. You're not going to change that. So so you could say that there's divine will, and then or divine purpose, and then divine will. So divine will for me is this ability to be able to have this co-create with God, with your higher self, to have the abundancy that you deserve to have in your life in all these 5 aspects. So as we come up to a close here, this one here is the utmost importance. You know, when your career health is so important. You know, I was at a lecture with Dr. Maoxing Ni at Yosan University in Los Angeles about a year and a half ago. There's about 60 people in the audience, 60, 70 people in the audience, and Dr. Mao asked the question. He said, "How many people in this room are happy with their career?" And you know, there's probably only about 5 of us that actually rose our hands, and you know, which was really shocking. That meant that the rest of the class really didn't like what they were doing, or was like me when I used to be a butcher, would dread going into work. But when you can find your career health, your spiritual health, they actually have a saying that our spiritual health is manifested when we find our life purpose. Dr. Mao also said in his lecture, I'll never forget this quote. He said, before you come into earth, in this life form, you sign a contract with heaven that you are to find your life purpose. And when you find your life purpose, this is how God manifests itself through you. So when you find what it is, and for myself, and if you're thinking about doing this, whether for your own health, or you're thinking about helping also other people and adding another set of tools to your repertoire to help your clients, you know, your career health is of utmost importance. And you know, one of the things that I loved was that after going to that workshop was that it doesn't matter what that life purpose is, though, for you, because it could be anything. Right before we went to LA for the summer, our car got a flat tire. We had to wait for the tow truck to come. And the tow truck driver was this young guy, about 24, 25 years old, just got freshly out of the Marines. And, you know, talking to this guy, you know, he loved being a tow truck driver. He really loved doing, this was his life mission. You know, like he says, you know, I have the GI Bill. I could go back to college if I want to, but I've always dreamed about having my own tow truck and being a tow truck driver. And he goes, because I really feel that I help people. And it's like, wow, that is so cool that this guy at age 25 had actually found his life purpose. How many of us are now older and still are searching, like, what is it that I want to do? And even if you are older now, or you are aging and you're still in that place, it's not too late to change. That's the cool thing about this, is that you can start the transformation at any point in time. And the other great thing about this too is that, especially as being a human being, is that we are the one species that has the ability to reinvent ourselves at any point in time that we so choose. Any point in time. If we choose to be the tow truck driver, if we choose to be the healer, we choose to be the doctor, we can reinvent ourselves and become whatever it is that we strive to be, if only if we apply these 5 healths. So let me go ahead and ask you a question. How are you enjoying the webinar so far? Like my wife says, my man sure likes to talk, so we're going to be wrapping it up here. And so what I'd like to do is I like to wrap up what we've discussed over this last hour, and that is our physical health, how important that is, how important it is to have a healthy mental emotional wellness, how important it is to have financial health, how important it is as part of this whole balance to have healthy relationships with people, how important it is to have our career health, and what is our spiritual health. Okay, so from here, what I like about Qigong is that it actually gives you the tools to cope with stress. And once again, it's such an easy practice to do. So if you want to take your practice to the next level, then we have an offer for you, here today. And it's our online Qigong Teacher Training program. And this teacher training program, I believe, is the best program out there, because we are really, what we've done is we've spent a lot of time, energy, and money into building this program to give the participants the best tools necessary to first, most importantly, cultivate themselves, improve the wellness, improve the 5 healths of themselves, and then go out there and spread that stuff to the world. So if you want to be a change maker, what does that look like? Well, being a change maker, like I said, starts with you. And the great thing about becoming a Qigong teacher with the Shelton Qigong Teacher Training Program is that you get to improve your own health and well-being. You get to have the enjoyment of increased presence and happiness in your life. You get to help others. You get to create your dream job like what we've done. You get to expand your practice. And you get to celebrate with your patients as they transform and cure their own diseases or transform their own diseases. And when you help people heal from pain, like I said in the very beginning of this webinar, there's nothing more gratifying than seeing the look on somebody's face when they finally have no pain. And the other cool thing is that when they are pain-free, guess what? It actually shows up on their face. The color, their complexion, their vitality, everything shows up on the face when they're pain-free. And the best thing is that you get to spread the love of life. You know, according to Chinese medicine, we're supposed to live to be 120. And what does that mean? That means living 120 years and dying a graceful death and not suffering to the day we die. So what you'll receive if you sign up today is that you'll receive support from myself and my wife, Parisa, throughout the entire course. Through the forum, there's actually a forum, a chat where other participants log in, and even past participants sometimes log in as well too to answer questions. You get a hold of us by email or phone. So even though it's a 13-week online program, at the end of the 13 weeks that we get together, we meet for a weekend workshop, either here in San Jose, California, or in Los Angeles. And then for those of you that, because we have participants like in New Zealand, New England, Costa Rica taking the class. And for those people, then what we do is we actually do a live Zoom chat while we're doing the practical application. So if you can't fly in and you can't make it to San Jose or to Los Angeles for the weekend workshop, then at least we can still have you participate live with the rest of the group. And and what's really cool is that you get to share this practice with all the other people around you. Okay, so about the course, so what will you get? Well, there's 4 videos. So each Monday morning, my wife Parisa, she hits a button, and then these 4 videos are then released to you. First is the Qigong for Better Health, where I teach you the practice. The next is the frequently asked questions. So questions throughout the years that students have asked, you know, like that old saying goes, there's never a dumb question. It's really the truth, because these questions, it just means that it shows you how people perceive the practice from a different way. And then tips for teachers. So once again, I'm being interviewed by the beautiful Miss California, Jessica Carmack, and what are the common tips on all these the tips that in the frequently asked questions are all meant to help you understand the practice better. And then finally, the last video will be Peace Pep Talk. They offer insight into the related week's practice. So there'll be an assignment that you could where you can write down on the forum. Let's say for the White Pearl Meditation week 1, there'll be a practice for that week, and then you just go ahead and submit that to the forum. Also, what you're going to get is you're going to get handouts each week that are the handouts that are originally designed when I was teaching just the classes, not even the Qigong Teacher Training course. And these handouts, I also call them cheat sheets, because they'll go into your QTT, your Qigong Teacher Training binder that we're going to give to you. And then you could have these cheat sheets as reference material. Also, each week there's a little quiz with 10 to 12 questions. The purpose of this quiz is to make sure that you're understanding the practice for that week. Okay, so what are other people saying about the course? Well, Kari, here on this slide here, she's an acupuncturist who's been with us at Morning Crane for, I think, gosh, now 7 years. And I've gotten the chance to witness her transformation, not only emotionally, but also in her health, as well as her acupuncture practice itself. And she also is one of our certified Qigong teacher trainers who finished both level 1 and 2. And we also send her out not only to teach classes, but we also have a big government contract with Santa Clara County where we're in charge of the 16,000 employees for the Employee Wellness Department, and where we go and give talks on disease prevention. And we actually send Kari out to some of these locations to give talks and did show these Qigong practices to the county, to the government employees to help to deal with stress and to help to beat the burnout. So level 1 starts January 21st, 2018. If you sign up within the next 48 hours, you're going to save big because you can do one payment of $1,500. So it saves you $450 because the normal price of this program for level 1 is $1,950, is $1,950. Or you can break it down into 3 monthly payments of $600 and save $150 over the course of the 3-month payments. So just go to QigongTeacherTraining.com, click sign up now, click the sign up now button in the next 2 days and take advantage of this remarkable savings and this remarkable opportunity to change your life, to increase your practice, to give more to the people that you already serve, or if you're just starting off in this field, really getting to see the joy and what it feels like to be a part of the change and help to change and transform other people's lives while you change your own life and improve your own life and your own well-being. So I'm Chris Shelton. On behalf of Chris Shelton, my wife Parisa, and the Qigong Teacher Training Program, I thank you for your time and attention, and please share this. We're going to be hosting other webinars through the next couple of months here, and God bless, and may the Qi be with you.